Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Hello, everyone. It's Nate. Welcome to episode 555 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. That's a very special show today. Not only just the numerical angle with 555, but of course, we also have the legend, Taj Mahal, joining us, not only to talk about his new album, Time, but also vinyl. Yep, Taj Mahal is a vinyl head. He still listens to spinning discs inside his house, even making some albums that are vinyl only. And we talk all about that today. We also discuss some Taj Mahal history, including the lost and found recordings of Rising Suns, bootleg recordings. We talk about hanging out with the Rolling Stones, making rock and roll circus, his memories with Jimi Hendrix, and of course, working with the late, great Bill Withers on the final recordings of his life, which are on the new Taj Mahal album, Time, available now. In fact, you can go to your streaming service and pull up the track Time, which is the Taj and Bill Withers song. It's friggin' beautiful. The whole album is actually quite great. Also, Taj is on tour. TajBlues.com has all the details. The man is 84, still going well. Don't miss him if he's anywhere near you. Now, before we get into the interview, I just need to do a quick plug for my Patreon page, patreon.com/vinyl guide. You know, it's been scientifically proven that people who support this podcast on Patreon actually get more beautiful as they get older. That is a fact. So not only do you get the episodes early in high resolution and help support this podcast, you also become less and less revolting throughout the years. That is a guarantee and worth it right there. Patreon.com/vinyl guide. Make it happen, and thank you in advance. All right, let's get on the horn with Mr. Taj Mahal and talk vinyl, rare recordings, and more. So, Taj, again, thanks for spending some time with us. I want to get into your new record. I want to talk a little bit of history. The one thing that really struck me, especially about this new album, Time, gorgeous LP, this Bill Withers demo that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You had a friendship with him for many years. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, we never got into exchanging any songs or anything. We just liked each other's way of playing and what kind of men we were, and we obviously came from situations where we lived in communities where everybody worked together, and both of us were out in California, and that kind of it's a different kind of relationship between people. It's mostly people who come from so many other places. So it's not the kind of close-knit communities that both of us came out of. But at the same time, even in the close-knit community, you still are, you're designed to be a potent individual. You have to get your work done. You got to do this and be about honor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Take care of your business. And so, he saw me as being independent and playing the kind of music I wanted, creating my own pathway to move through. And I saw him as well as that. So years went by, great songs went down, et cetera, et cetera. And then when he walked away from the business, I knew some of the reasons why he did. It's just that they were pushing him to be somebody else, and he had already proven that his work was good as it stood. So anyway and anyhow, he time went on, and one of the gentlemen who was involved with him at the time that he made his separation and was a good friend of his, knew that there were several great songs that he had. He'd heard his whole catalog and was working alongside of us to help us ascertain, a distributor for this current album. And we had never been bothered with putting out the singles. We had done that, and just we put out an album let people enjoy the album and just not try to get into that rat race that it takes to guide a single into the world, do all this stuff. So anyway, but what we did know, we needed a distribution. So this gentleman who was working with us, who knew Bill, said, there's a song I want to run by you. And they know me. I don't usually bothering with other people's material, except when I say bother with other people's material, contemporary songwriters' material.
Right.
Mostly my stuff is garnered off of the older tradition. And so, but he brought the song by. It was really good because with Bill, it's like you just never every record that he did was different from the one that he did before. And that's what he liked about me, and that's what I liked about him. Is that he was a composer and he heard something different. He didn't hear the same thing because the same thing sold. This is the next song he heard. So it was real good for me to hear this song. And I thought to myself, I said, gee, I wish they hadn't created so much, resistance in the business, that this guy would have stayed there, because who knows what other songs he would have come to, because I never heard all the other stuff that he played. But anyway, we liked the song. We got a version of it, and this is way before COVID, and so we had been working on an album, and the problem had been finding a home for it to be distributed through, because once you fall out of favor with the majors, they assume that you're not doing anything, and you're not of any value for them anymore. So anyway, we eventually did find someone, 30 Tigers, who was really interested in handling our output, and some of the other albums that we had put out, from from the late 90s. And so we went with them, and I just love the song. It was a wonderful song. And with Bill, when I heard his music, I could follow where it was. He came from a really, really tight, culture, not so much community, and he had a lot of input from his elders.
So that's interesting. You said you were working on this pre-COVID, so Bill was around. Did Bill hear this song before he? Okay.
Yeah, he's the first one that's he's the first one that said yes. When our man from the record company said, what do you think about Taj Mahal doing this? He said, oh, sure, Taj can do this. So that's a good question. Something people need to know. No, he put the magic wand on it and said, yeah. And then later on, after the record was done, the music was done, it passed by his wife, and she gave it the nod, and then later, when it was finally finished, she gave it the green light.
Oh, okay. Because I love Bill Withers music, and
me too.
The notion that there are other Bill Withers tracks out there. I mean, there's obviously this song "Time," but possibly others that are in various states.
There's a lot. He just, he owned his own publisher, and he just said, "Hey, you know what? I'm picking up my toys and I'm leaving the sandbox." No, I mean the industry came on pretty insulting. They said that he needed to have some kind of rock lead guitar player. He needed horns. He needed background singers. Synthesizers, and he needed to speed up the tempo of his music to compete with the whatever was the big seller at that time. And he said, "No, this is what I hear. These are the tempos I hear. This is how these songs arrive. I'm not going to change them for the industry, because then you're not in control anymore. They are,
And you've had a very well-lived life in the music industry. You've seen it change and evolve over time. A lot of what we talk about here on the show are vinyl records, collecting, and rare recordings. Do you still listen to records? Do you have your
records? Yeah, that's what that. I listen. If I want to listen to, if I'm going to listen to music, I'm either going. I'm either going. I'm going to listen to it on on vinyl, or it's something that I might. Uh, I might download off the not even download, but click onto the internet because I got a good set of speakers I can listen to. But for the enjoyment of of listening to music, I'm a vinyl man. I never gave my vinyl up, and never was going to give my vinyl up. I have a decent collection. My father collected, but back in the day of 78, when
Mm.
you could get yourself in trouble if you dropped how high the moon, on a 78 and it cracked. There was going to be some problems if you couldn't go out, they couldn't buy a copy of it.
Huh.
And I'm going from the 40s into music, and all the way through all the changes that have happened. And I'm still up at that the best way to listen to music, other than a concert or playing it yourself or listening to it come in from the creative source in the universe, is on vinyl.
In your experience, your opinion, why is it the vinyl is still your favorite?
Like, because everything else past vinyl is is a big compromise, and it's going downhill. If you go to digital, you look at the bell curve. Starts out at 0 and then jumps to 4. Goes from 4 to 8, 8, you know, you know, 8 to 12, 12 to 16, and all that stuff, all that good gravy in between 0 and 4 and 4 and 8 and 8 and 12, and 12 and 16, you don't get. But when you put vinyl on, I mean, that's the best that you can get. That's the best connection between, that artist's mind, what they wanted you to hear, what they wanted you to feel, where they wanted you to go, where they went, where you go with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
almost like an unbroken line.
and the I guess the sequence approaching an album, approaching music like a larger body of work, almost like telling a story. I imagine that's still what you do. Even when you approach the Time album, you weren't thinking 3 minute or 8 or 5 minute song.
No,
You were thinking 45-minute journey.
uh, no, we thought of the journey, and every song went for as long as it went.
Mhm.
And when we got 45 minutes, or not 45, when we got a bunch of songs, we figured out how much we had, and we went through and tried to put together a decent lineup of songs. How they fell from one to the next, and make sure that it didn't go over, and that the audience won't be listening to it wouldn't feel like they got cheated because they didn't get enough music on the record.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and so that if you didn't go over, or you didn't make it, so you didn't have good fidelity. I mean, not even fidelity, but good sound. Audio sound on the whole thing. You know,
Mm. How painstaking is it for you to sequence a record once you have those songs?
not you know, it's no, it's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. I don't agonize over it. It's it's just like it's like a set at night when I'm playing a live show. You
Mm.
know, find a good place to start, and feel it moving. You want it to move. And but it's not like just dance music. Where it's boom dum boom dum boom dum boom dum boom dum. Bubba dum. You know, uh, um, it's but when I say it's not dance music, it's not commercial electronic dance music.
Hmm.
It's all right. I don't mind if they do it. It's just that's not where I live. I live where it's dance music, and it comes off in a natural, comfortable way. You can sit down and enjoy it. You can find a partner and dance to it. You can wash your dishes. Work on your car and listen to it. I mean, it's like it just needs to be a part of your life. You know, but have some groove and some rhythm in
Yeah. It's very clear you came from a musical background. Both your parents were involved in playing music and producing music.
it. Well, yeah, but don't that's the front part of it. The surrounding part of it is what the culture was about at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of I was born in the '40s. There were certain limitations for where we as a culture could go and hang out. So there was a lot of things that people did. I explained it that folks, it was Saturday night, and anybody's house could be, where people came to dance, you know, because there weren't a lot of places that you could go out to. So, people danced at different houses. And, you also had rent parties and, this kind of party, that kind of party. Then when that was like early on when I was in my single digits, when I got in double digits and got around the day, there were parties, little parties, and we'd go and get a chance to dance and hold the girls close, you know, and, that's 14, 15, 16, 17, like in and around that area, up to 18 maybe, and, in that area, it was a different kind of music. A lot of that was coming from the contemporary, and I wasn't so much listening to much of my own parents' music as much as I had branched out to what I personally liked. People like Jimmy Reed and Howlin' Wolf and other kinds of people, and all the doo-wop music that was going on at the time, but still with a jazz background. That's what they had given me. But I was basically saying that the water we swam in, the culture that we were in, the fact that I came from a cultural family, it wasn't just my parents had a lot to do with what happened in front, but it was surrounded by a lot of other people who loved music, and music was a common language between everybody at that time. It wasn't so much driven by CBS or Sony or Warner Brothers.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Do you remember a time where you didn't play music?
I would say I don't remember a day in this life when I didn't hear music, and when I got to be able to play it, got up big enough to be able to play it. Then I went through a series of piano, clarinet, trombone, harmonica. I could always sing. Singing was something that came first before playing of music. Singing, and, but then eventually I wanted to play instruments, and I know what I heard that I liked, but some of them were a little bit more difficult to get to. Clarinet's a rough belly,
Yeah.
a rough character, but I admire anybody who can, you know. And trombone, I love trombone, but just could never really get that together. And harmonica, I did for a while, and then eventually I caught on to it. But guitar is what came in when I was about 14, and that was when during the years when the guitar that's probably like 54. That's when the guitar was beginning to, they used to think of the guitar as a rhythm instrument in the bands. They never really, and at least the Western thinking. Spanish guitar thought of something else, and then blues guitar started coming along. But Chuck, all those kind of guys played guitar. Just so Kenny Burrell, uh, Wes Montgomery. By the time that kind of stuff came along, the guitar had fully made its way out from the rhythmic sense and into a melodic lead instrument.
Mm. Yeah, because I guess just thinking about it, the guitar you could play both kind of bass and melody notes. One of the few instruments you can kind of cover a spectrum.
Yes, it's orchestral. It's really orchestral.
Mm. Was there a record or a particular artist that really helped the penny drop for you, or almost a mentor for the sort of musician you wanted to be when you were young?
I know there was a lot of people. I mean, there were certain people that helped me along the way. And they weren't necessarily, the the they weren't necessarily the guy that you would be somebody that anybody would know. I mean, my next door neighbor came from North Carolina, and he was a great player, and he was like kind of my first mentor in terms of somebody that I really played behind. But the guys I listened to for guitar were were like Jimmy Reed, um, Chuck Berry later on, for blues, Muddy Waters a bit, you know, um,
Mhm.
and it took me a while to get to BB King and T-Bone Walker because I'd come in pretty much through a jazz door, so the changes were moving around all the time, and I didn't realize the connection between, but the music, but I mean one of the guys I sunk in really deep with was Ray Charles. I mean, to this day, his music just stands up. Ray Charles, later on Otis Redding, Wilson Pickett, Sam Cooke, you know, but a lot of those guys just love the way that they presented themselves in their music. But guitar players, you know, the old once I found that stream that had, you know, Robert Johnson and Son House and Lead Belly and Brownie McGee and Sonny Terry and Sleepy John Estes and you know, Skip James and Robert Wilkins and Brian Boy Fuller and Reverend Gary Davis, Elizabeth Cotton, Mrs. Etta Baker, and Robert Pete Williams, Lightning Hopkins, John Lee Hooker, and all that energy. I was really excited, because you know, they, they, they didn't get the kind of popularity that they built the foundation for. And here I was a young man, and I had an opportunity to take their works and 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 represent them in a contemporary format.
Mhm.
Like taking a tune like "Leaving Trunk" by Sleepy John Estes. I mean that's totally acoustic, folk blues, rural blues. You know, and the way we played it came off in a kind of a different way. It was the first album was a little bit on the rocky side. You know, and the second album I got closer to the blues that I wanted to be able to play things like mailbox blues and whatnot. But
Right.
yeah,
Now, in that time period, you've worked with so many of the greats. Did you ever have any moments with Jimi Hendrix?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I know Hendrix. We didn't hang out, but we knew one another good enough to know for him to say that, he heard what I was playing, you know, and talked to me about it, and a couple of different times we played together. I think on 2 or 3 different occasions got to play together. Once in New York at Ungano's, and it was kind of like a jam session. And another was a jam session in Los Angeles. And then, oftentimes on you know, the same festivals. I remember a big festival down in Southern California where it's like Tina Turner and the Chambers Brothers and I don't know, the Doobie Brothers, all kinds of players down there. We've been on the same festivals. Yeah.
All right. So, and there was collaboration. It just probably wasn't recorded then, as I understand.
No, we didn't know. No, did we go in the studio and play? No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's uh, um, a mythical tape hanging around where everybody thought it was the two of us playing together. But no, I always had a steel guitar, national guitar, steel guitar that I was playing at that time. Six string, regular guitar, the
Right.
resonator guitar. So if it ain't got that on it, not me.
Okay. Well, what's interesting is you brought up the live recordings or bootlegs, I guess. I know Rising Suns was bootlegged for many years. But how how did you, and if it's changed, how do you see the nature of uncirculated music? Do you feel it's, is it preservation? Is it theft? Is it something in between? What are your thoughts on?
I think that it signifies, some of the lower moments in Western civilization. if you're asking me,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like okay. I understand, wonderful, but see, I think that the Grateful Dead solved the problem. That's why they set up a part of their their audience where you could come in with earphones and microphones on stands and record, and you might get something really good. And people send in tapes all the time. They had 3 semi trucks, the tractor trailer trucks, full of tapes and whatnot, and they had 3 guys who were on salary just to listen to not only their stuff but the stuff that the people sent in. I'll never forget, looking out off of their stage one time, and there was a whole section. There must have been, 40, 30, 40 people out there with microphones, boom mics, stands, earphones, tapes, all kinds of different stuff, recording them. And they broke the problem. Everybody else was like, you can't have this, and so we all went on that, because people would bootleg. And I mean, they bootlegged them off the boards all over the place. That's how I heard Randy Crawford. Had a friend of mine I was staying with when I was over in England, stayed behind, and she had a great tape of Randy Crawford with the Yellow Jackets, off the board. It was like, whoa, who is this? And those things went around. Yeah, okay. I mean, if you have that and you also buy the record, and support the artist. This is somebody's business, I mean, if you're a farmer, you wouldn't want a bunch of people saying, "Hey, you've got more peas here. I'll just come in and take a couple bushels of it. It won't hurt you."
Right.
It's like it's difficult. It's different when it's coming the other way, But yeah, it's like where I'm at with it. If it's good, I'll do like that Bob Dylan did. He gets the bootlegs, and they turn them into to vinyl.
Yeah.
I mean, he got, I don't know how many vinyl sets he's got. Complete. There'll be 3, 4, 5 records in there, and there'll be tapes that somebody got from somewhere. Hey,
do you think that the bootlegger and the underground tapes played a role in Rising Suns eventually being released? The demand pointed toward that?
No, I don't know. That could be. I'm not feeling that. I just think that is that maybe it may have, man. I really don't know. I mean, we recorded that stuff in '66, and it didn't come out until '93. So what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It'll have been 30 years later.
Yeah. The way I understand it is the, underground tape trading said, hey, here's Taj Mahal and Ry Cooder. It built up a fan base of its own prior to its official release.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't, since nobody's talking, I mean, all that's just guesswork.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, conjecture.
Yeah.
I mean, Rolling Stones' Rock and Roll Circus. We recorded it in 1968. That didn't come out till in the 90s. It would have made all the difference in the world in my career. But hey, that's spilt milk. Gone long time. Over the dam, under the dam. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Mighta.
That's an incredible set, and people can see it anytime on YouTube. They can pull it up. What do you recall about that day recording for Rock and Roll?
Well, it's bigger than that day. first of all, for me, it starts in the 50s when the skiffle bands when I was a radio kid. I built the crystal radio set, and listen. I grew up with radio. That was the first thing that really hit me. That's where so much music came from, outside of the home. We all listened to the radio. That was theater of the mind. So I listened through, and in the 50s came aware of the skiffle bands in England. And I was confused as to how in the heck are these cricket, rugby, football, tea drinking, you know, crisps, and eating, crumpet. How are these guys getting into this funky music? Where are they getting it? What is the deal? And 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 how does it get over there? I'm not hearing what they're hearing, because I heard that they were hearing some music that I liked, but that wasn't being played on the radios over here in the United States. Almost none of it. I mean, I would say 1 or 2% of what I was hearing from over there. And then, as time went on, I realized that it takes a while to figure out the bigger picture. But anyway, nonetheless, I begin to see that they really liked it. Particularly, I was taken with Van Morrison. I like what he had to offer, energy, everything. But when the Stones came along, I had 5 different people. Jesse Fuller was a 12-string player, older black man. Let me see who else. Ry Cooder, the late John Hammond, late Al Wilson, and Bob the Bear Hype from Canned Heat. All had gone over to England and came back raving. Oh, Howlin' Wolf, raving about how much the kids loved the music over there, how much it was played, and you could hear it during the day on the air. I never heard Howlin' Wolf on the radio until they started putting blues shows together in maybe the 80s. I didn't live around Chicago, so I didn't get the chance to hear him. But late at night, you would hear him on some old blues station coming out on late at night. So I was really happy that these young guys heard the value of the music that they were listening to. But see, they could see that the roots of the music was chess music, was Chuck Berry, was Bo Diddley, was Muddy Waters, was Little Walter, was John Lee Hooker, and they took it seriously. Where here in the United States, they didn't take it seriously. They weren't happy. They were not going to have it be that the black musicians were going to be the example. So they created a faux example for it. Mm-hmm. So, but these guys stood up and said, "Hey, this is what we love. These are the artists we like. We really care for them, and have them on our shows and take them on our tours, bring them to our country, go to their concerts, buy their records, support them." So got into a situation where the Stones used to come into this club that I worked in Los Angeles, and so did the Animals. So did a whole lot of other musicians. I seated Johnny Cash one night, so he came in to hear Lightning Hopkins, and many other people like that. So we were playing at the Whiskey A Go Go, and enjoying playing, and finally looked down to the dance floor, and I'll be doggone if it wasn't Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and a bunch of those characters down there dancing along with the Animals. And I think Eric Clapton was in the room at that night, and Graham Bond. And I went like, well, this is after all those guys had come back from over in England. So, I got off the stage after the show and we said, whatever it is, this is your opportunity to make the pitch. So I came over and sat down. They complimented us on the music live in the club, hearing the band play with Jesse Davis and those great guys that played with me at that time. And I told them, I said, hey, I don't know what you guys got in your water over there, but the report is that you can hear the blues early in the morning or any time of the day that people want to, the BBC will play it, allow it to be played. I said, and that's quite a few times. I said, if there's ever any project that you think that we could be a part of, please do not fail. Feel free and don't fail to give us a call. In about 3 or 4 months, 8 tickets, round trip, first class tickets from Los Angeles to London came in the mail to our management, and we took the 4 musicians, the 2 roadies, and 2 of the people from the management, and they brought us over and treated us the best that anybody has ever treated us. I could say Bonnie Raitt was another person that treated us well. But or me well directly, but at that time. And so it was great, man. I mean, those guys really put out. I mean, they were wonderful hosts. We never wanted for anything, personal stuff. You smoked cigarettes, you chewed gum, you had postcards, you send personal, you bought gifts to bring home. That's your business. Anything else was well taken care of. I mean, it was a wonderful time, and I was really happy to be there, happy to play the music, happy to see how they lived, and also I got an African percussionist out of it, the guy that Rocky John that opens up Sympathy for the Devil, he for many years, immigrated to the United States and became a percussionist in some of my bands in the 70s.
Wow. So, obviously Rock and Roll Circus that stayed in the vault for many years.
Same thing.
Rising Suns too. What else is in the vault? What are some projects you've been involved in that just haven't seen the light of day for one reason or another?
They're not. There is some of the stuff is. Well, there are quite a number of albums that have been put out there. Let me. I can think of the first thing that LeVar Burton did after Roots. I did the soundtrack on that. I mean, the stuff you can find it, but you need a conductor to take you down the internet to show you where the action is.
You need a digital Sherpa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what's his name? Tenzing Norgay.
Oh, okay.
Right? He's the Sherpa for Sir Edmund Hillary.
Yeah.
Hello.
As long as you don't end up like Green Boots.
Global consciousness.
So let's talk real quick. And it's very clear you have a love of vinyl record because about 10 years ago you released an album that was only available on record, Labor of Love.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that decision for making it only available on vinyl.
Well, that was just because I knew that the quality of the record, is that maybe would attract the audiophiles, because audiophiles, they know they're listening for quality.
Oh yeah.
And the first run, I started learning more about the first run of the vinyls. They put out 25,000 copies. Like with other big groups, they may put out 100 or 200,000 press at the first time around, and that's the one pressing. And that as they get away from it, sometimes they put more economic restraints on what they're doing, and you get less. You don't get as good a quality. But with those records, they're all cut at the same high quality eight 180-gram vinyl. Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that record. But that was something that's another project that went over a bunch of days. It came from I think I was in Dallas or Houston or someplace in Texas. In an afternoon, Tim Duffy came in with his recording equipment, sat there in a chair with a guitar and played and sang, the tunes that I do, that I know, that I love. And when I do a solo show, with the stuff that I play. And then the rest of it was, you know, me playing bass and banjo and guitar and involved with other players that were a part of the Music Maker Foundation. And it's a special thing. I mean, I everything since 2008 has had a vinyl component, no matter what. Because the other thing I know is that globally, vinyl never goes down below 6% globally. It's a matter of getting the distribution right and the places where you press that stuff. So I've got there's here in the States I've got two specific places that I press at. One is Studio 4 in Pennsylvania, and the other one is Acoustic Sound in Salina, Kansas.
Yep.
Oh yeah, they're in fact they're doing a big vinyl summit this year because it's the 40th anniversary of Acoustic Sound, and I'm going to be there. I'm gonna be there with merch and band and have everything. It's going to be a big doings.
Oh, you're going to be, yeah. I talked to Chad.
17th of October.
I talked to Chad Kassem a couple weeks ago, and he was promoting that. And of course, this Labor of Love album that you had was on Chad's label, and
yeah, it is.
It sounds incredible. You're absolutely right about the audiophiles loving that record.
Yeah, and it's like wonderful because oftentimes when you have a big hit record, as it gets away from the original pressing, they're just, it's like whatever it takes to get them to bite after a while. I mean, I mean, whatever it is people know what I do in quality. Like Craig Kalman, who's the head of Atlantic Records with the WEA. This man has volumes of vinyl, and in his vinyl, two of my particular records that he just loves for what they are. One of them is the real thing that recorded in 1971, 71 with the big four tubas,
Oh yeah,
that record, and then is More Roots. And they're like everything else, but that's two of his particular favorites of mine. And people have favorites all over the place. I mean, and so try to really make I see it that the continent, is what the common denominator is in all the music that I'm playing. No, I'm not just opening this pot and that pot. Is that the continent has been the nurturer of all the music that we're out here hearing. The rhythms come from people who came from there. So yeah,
right. You mentioned something earlier, and I wasn't quite sure I understood it. You said vinyl never gets below 6%.
Yeah.
Sorry, what do you mean by that?
6% global sales.
Oh, got it. Okay. All right. Percentage of the business that comes in to get your music out there. Okay, got it. What are your thoughts about the future of music and the way people listen? Again, you've seen so much. Do you think vinyl is going to be continued? Do you think there's other things that are on the horizon?
I have no idea what they're going to do. One never knows, do one. And I think Thomas Fats Wallace said that. The bottom line is that what I'm trying to do right now is securing that. Going forward, no matter what it changes to or from, I want my material available in vinyl in perpetuity. That's it. I cannot vouch for what other things they're going to do. I know they're doing crazy things with AI. And so that, no matter what, when it sounds that perfect, you know what it is. You can see right through it. You can read a newspaper.
Well, look, I know the new album Time is available. There's a gorgeous yellow version of the vinyl and many other things. I'll put the link in this episode page, tajblues.com, where you can get your own copy. A lot of tour dates coming up. Taj, you've done so much. Any other aspirations? Any other worlds you want to conquer?
No. It's not one thing to the next, man. It's just play more music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening to. I was before we got on the phone here. I was sitting with my guitar, playing, listening to different songs that, for most of my life I've never had time to play, because there was a plethora of people playing those songs, and there was things that I wanted to do. And it's not a thing that, I'm trying to do the next. It's the music. It keeps coming, man. It occurs to me. If I had not, if I was a rich man, I would do nothing but just play and record music all the time. Because I hear lots of music, and I think people need to hear it. They get, they think they're hearing music. They're only hearing what's being presented to them. And that's a pretty limited, it's a limited diet.
Right. You're still touring quite a lot. A lot of shows happening. Any chances we're going to see you back down under in the near future?
Down under, the land down under, mate. No, I don't know. Maybe as I understand that the Byron Bay Blues Festival has gone belly up.
Yeah.
And so there may be a reason to come down and tour. Usually when we come down there, they don't want you to tour around Australia too much. So I would, there's some other places that I haven't gone up to play, but I would love to play. To come down and really, come out and tour for a month. Go down and really go down there and pass by Fiji on the way in and Fiji on the way out.
That's right. So do you still go record shopping? Do you still go to the stores?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What? Well, actually, it's my sound engineer who's the guy who does that. We collect a lot of my older material, like Mahal, Nashville Blues, the Giant Step, because those are if they're in really good shape, people there's a secondhand market for those, and people really like those records.
Ah, okay, all right. So you'll find copies and take them with you on tour and get them into the hands of fans.
Yeah. We whatever records we got out now, right? There's 5 records. There's Get On Board with Brian Cooter. There's Savoy with the jazz music. There's Taj Mahal live at Tipitina's, which was a 3,000 subscription situation. Now I own that product. It's on green vinyl. And then the swinging live at the church, and then Room on the Porch with Kev Mo, and all those things are the ones that are available when we go on the road. We have all that, and we sell quite a bit of vinyl on the road. If I'm out for 5 or 6, 7 dates, and we take 156 pieces of vinyl, I might come home with 6 or 7.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is at good value per vinyl per project. So the people want, and a lot of people they don't. Some of the younger people they will take the record out, play it on to transfer it from vinyl to CD, put the record back in the jacket, and then put it in a frame and put it on the wall.
Yeah. I've heard that. And by the way, vinyl is such a perfect format for that because, I'm not going to judge people on how they listen to music, but it is a very big piece of art, and of course, it's good to be signed, and it's nice to hold a record.
You've got something in your hand. Plus, it's like I remember being on the bus one time, and somebody had "Card in the Blue" by Miles Davis, one of the things I really love. Mm-hmm. And I listened to it, and it's like, it's good, but there was something missing. Then I went home, came home, put my vinyl on, and said, that's what's missing. There's a warmth. It's actually pushing air. It's different,
Yeah. Oh,
so
phenomenal. Well, look, Taj, I hope we do see you down under. Again, the new album Time is absolutely gorgeous, and I encourage everyone to check it out.
Much.
Even start with the everyone could start with the streaming and then move towards an actual physical LP, which you can get at tajblues.com. I'll also put a link in this episode page to that one, that Labor of Love, which I think audiophiles will absolutely adore. Taj, I hope I see you in Salina, Kansas in October. Be well, take care of yourself, and again, thank you for everything. Cheers, man.
You're very welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care.
Oh, man, absolute honor talking to that man. Again, his new album, Time, is well worth checking out. I also put links to the album Labor of Love, which you can get at Acoustic Sounds. And see Taj live if you can. tajblues.com has all the details. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate everyone who's leaving positive reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And of course, those of you who are sharing it online, that is a huge help as well. We'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, you all behave yourselves. And thanks again for listening to the Vinyl Guide podcast. Cheers.